Well, welcome back to another episode of the March and Silva MMA show. And today we're talking about UFC 264, the events that happened on the weekend. And we have Islam Makhachev versus Thiago Moisés this weekend. We've got great fights this weekend, a great card all around. And we've had some tremendous events to talk about last weekend. I'm joined with Oscar. How's it going?
It's going excellent. We had an amazing pay-per-view this past weekend. Of course, the last two fights left a sour taste in our mouths, but nonetheless, it really delivered top to bottom. Let's talk about the main event. Conor McGregor broke his tibia at the end of the first round, and it was an unfortunate sight to see, and I believe that the UFC will use that as an excuse to make a quadrilogy between these two. I think Dustin Poirier showed that there's no doubt that he is now the better mixed martial artist. And I believe he's miles ahead of Conor at this point, especially on the ground. Dustin Poirier showed that on the ground, he beats Conor McGregor, I would say 9 out of 10 times at this point. Dustin Poirier is only getting better, and now he earned his title shot against Charles Oliveira in December, and he should win that. And after that, they're probably going to book the fourth fight with Conor, and it's unfortunate because I believe this fight probably marks the end of Conor's stay at the top of the division. Don't get me wrong, he's still an elite fighter. He can still compete in the top 10, but the top 5 is probably not where he should be fighting at this moment.
Well, yeah, he's now ranked at number 7 inside the rankings at lightweight, which is, it's incredible to think about because we've known Conor as the past few years to be, this elite fighter, champion, double champ. He's been in the top 10, top 5 consistently, and now he's outside the top 5. He's number 7 in the rankings, which is just, it's insane to think about. But his performance on the weekend against against Poirier, it was interesting because obviously the takedown came easy for Poirier, but what really helped that takedown was the jumping for the guillotine. McGregor jumped for that guillotine, and then from then it was downhill. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "That's it." Well, that was the worst mistake McGregor could have made in that fight, and even his coach John Kavanagh admitted that it was a tactical mistake. He should never ever jump for that guillotine. And I completely agree. If he does a jump for that guillotine, they stay on the cage, they do a little bit of clinch fighting, maybe let's go at the guillotine, and they go back to the center. But jumping for that guillotine gave Dustin the ground and pound opportunity that he was possibly looking for. And them elbows, a lot of them landed, but it didn't look like it phased McGregor. His face still looked unscathed. Just the cauliflower ear that kind of popped, and obviously the ankle at the end. It was I hate seeing stuff like that. I'm really bad at watching bones break. I absolutely hate it. I'm probably watching the wrong sport but this sport is crazy. I love it. But watching bones break, I can't watch it, man. It's just terrible. But yeah, as you mentioned, that broken ankle is probably their path to the fourth fight. It's an anticlimactic end to the trilogy that we were looking for.
Yeah, fun fact, ever since fans came back at UFC 261. We've seen a limb break in every pay-per-view. UFC 261 had Wyman break his leg. Then at 262, Jacare gets his arm broken. At 263, we have Jamal Hill get his arm dislocated. Now Conor just got his tibia snapped. So 265 is bound to have something wacky happen. Once again, these pay-per-views have delivered in terms of entertainment and certainly violence. And the co-main event, I really don't think delivered that. Gilbert Burns fought Stephen One Boy Thompson, and he came in with a winning game plan. His game plan was to get close to Wonder Boy and wrestle him. Wonder Boy has not been taken down 3 times ever since the Matt Brown fight. So that was a really good look for Gilbert Burns, and I believe there's only one way to go but up for Gilbert Burns after this. A lot of people were counting him out after the after the Usman loss, and I counted him out too. I thought there was a potential for him to be knocked out, and in the second round he got hit with a good spinning kick. But besides that, Gilbert Burns was the better grappler. But in my mind, that was a draw. Gilbert Burns landed a bunch of illegal strikes to the back of the head in the third round, and for Mark Goddard not to take a point, that's not good luck at all. So I truly believe this fight was a draw, but Gilbert Burns definitely had a better game plan and the 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 smarter way to win the fight, but by just dominating him on the ground.
Yeah, before I move on to talk about the co-main event, I just wanted to bring up this topic. It was Conor McGregor said that his leg was already compromised going into the Dustin Poirier trilogy fight. He announced that he suffered after he suffered the broke tibia. He said he had stress fractures in his leg leading up to the fight, and the UFC knew that, Dana White knew that, the doctors knew that, but the fight still went ahead. Do you see that as a little bit of an excuse, maybe, or do you believe his word?
Conor McGregor has had an excuse for every loss he's had, and he's really built his game around being confident, and to continue to be confident, you got to have an excuse in there. I'm not going to say he's lying, but at the end of the day, broken tibia or not, you don't really use that on the ground, and that's where he was getting beat up. So, yeah, that was a clear loss for Conor.
In McGregor's word, people ask me when was the leg break, at what point did the leg break, ask Dana White, ask the UFC, ask Mr. Davidson, the head doctor of the UFC. They knew my leg. I had stress fractures into the leg going into the cage. They were debate about pulling me out of this thing because I was sparring without shin pads and I was kicking. I kicked the knee a few times, so I had multiple stress fractures in the shin above the ankle, and then I had trouble with the ankle anyway throughout the years of fighting all the time.
Yeah, I don't know what to say there, but yeah, he's got to have an excuse, and Conor McGregor, he will not be better when he returns. There's no way. You saw Anderson Silva come back. He wasn't the same, and now Conor
the same excuse he used against Khabib. He said his foot with a balloon in that fight, and it seems like it's going with the same way. But he obviously has a better back in this one because his leg literally did snap in half. So anyway, moving on to the Burns fight. As you mentioned, he did what he had to do. Went in there, got the takedowns, 3 takedowns. The first time, as you mentioned, since what was it? Maybe Matt Brown in his use. Matt Brown. Yeah, which is phenomenal because Thompson is a great, fantastic defense wrestler. We've seen that in the past, but now we know if he did come against Usman, it would have been. I don't want to say an easy night for Usman because that's disrespectful, but it would have been a night for Usman where he would have taken him down at will and controlled him for 25 minutes probably, and that would have been the end of the story. But Burns did what he had to do. He threw 101 strikes. 101 strikes out of 126, which is phenomenal accuracy. He landed a lot in this fight, and then 3 takedowns and 7 minutes and 13 control. But as you mentioned, the back of the head strikes, Mark Goddard didn't take a point off. Could that have warranted a point?
100%. Those were very intentional, and they were landing, and it was multiple. It wasn't one where he was trying to hit him. I don't know. It was clearly intentional, and Gilbert Burns is a nice guy, and I was quite surprised to see him doing something as dirty as that. And Wonder Boy's, he's not gonna get a title shot now. He's 38. It's sad to see. He's a very talented fighter, and let's move on to quite possibly the best knockout of the night. Taito Uvasa knocked out Greg Hardy in a minute, and it was mad scenes after that. He got the shoe. He got a Steve Will Do It's custom made Happy Dad Nike shoe. It was really awesome to see, and Taito Uvasa is a real character, and Greg Hardy, of course, he showed his inexperience once again by rushing in after rocking Taito Uvasa, and after that, it was over quickly.
Yeah, which is beyond me. Greg Hardy was leading up to this fight. He was saying that he wanted to box Deontay Wilder. Did he? Yeah, literally, that was my reaction when I heard that. I was like, "What is he thinking?"
Delusion.
So when I heard that, I was like, "He's got his mind set on another." When McGregor fought Poirier for the second time, as we mentioned, he was more set on the Manny Pacquiao fight. To me, that kind of felt like Greg Hardy had his head elsewhere. He wasn't really concentrated on the fight. He probably wasn't overlooking Taito Uvasa, but his full concentration probably wasn't there with Tai, and he did rock Tai Tuivasa, gave him the little chicken dance. His leg went stiff a little bit, but Tai Tuivasa, he's got some fast hands for a big boy, and he knocked him out with that left hook, and it was deadly, and it was over, and we saw the big boy fall. In my opinion, I think that might be the last time we see Greg Hardy inside the UFC.
Yeah, they pay him a lot. He got paid nearly as much as Tai Tuivasa for this fight, and Tai got a bonus. That lets you know how much Greg Hardy gets paid. I don't know if they'll let him go. I feel like every time Greg Hardy fights, people do tune in to watch just because he's a very polarizing guy. He's a very very controversial guy. I feel like he gets a lot of eyes, and the UFC's heavyweight roster, it's not great. So I believe they'll probably keep Greg Hardy around just because he's a name, and maybe they're not going to give up on him quite yet. If he loses his next one in this fashion, I'm sure they'll let him go, but for now, he'll probably stick around.
Just quickly before we move on to the next fight, I said it in the preview, Tai Tuivasa versus Tom Aspinall, it's the fight to make, and I think it should happen next. I don't think he'll be able to turn around as quick for September, maybe London. I believe Tom Aspinall is getting ready for that card. But yeah, so I don't know whether Tai Tuivasa will be able to turn around that quick, but Tai Tuivasa versus Tom Aspinall next would be phenomenal. I think that fight would make a hell of a lot of sense, and it gives Tom Aspinall another challenge to face. And Tai Tuivasa said he wants the top 10, top 15, and that's where Aspinall is at the moment. So it makes a hell of a lot of sense. And another finish that happened, Irina Aldana finished Yana Kunitskaya. Impressed with the performance?
I was, and I was not surprised by the knockout. That's what I predicted. I thought it would be later in the fight, but Yana Kunitskaya, her weight cuts, sometimes they're a little rocky, and that makes her chin a little weak. She got knocked off by Aspen Ladd already, so I was thinking a great boxer like Aldana should be able to get the job done. Aldana herself missed weight. She had an excuse for that. I don't know what to believe, but Aldana did look excellent as long as she was in there. And Yana Kunitskaya came in with a very different approach. She was not looking to clinch early on, which was very surprising, and that opened up a huge right hand for Aldana to land, and some brutal ground and pound right after. Aldana would have gotten a performance bonus if it wasn't for a weight miss. Great performance for her, and I personally believe in Miesha Tate looks excellent against Mary Renault this weekend. I believe her against Miesha Tate is the fight to make.
Yeah, 100% agree with you with everything you said there. I don't want to keep this, the breakdown on here too long because there's a lot of topics to talk about on this UFC 264. So much happened. But lastly, on the main card, we have Sean O'Malley versus Chris Moutinho. Chris lost the fight, but he won on, in the fans' perspective. He's gained so much attraction for taking a beating. But this guy's heart, his durability, he's a warrior. And when he fights, I'm tuning in because I want this guy to have the greatest success inside the UFC. This guy is a phenomenon. He's he really inspired me because this guy, and the amount of shots he took, he got knocked down a few times, he got back up and he kept on going. Some inspirational stuff, and it just showed that if you put Sean O'Malley under pressure, and he yes, the 3 rounds he did look good. But he did look at the clock a lot, and it looked like he was slowing down in that 3rd round. But Sean O'Malley always looked a step ahead.
Yeah, how was Sean O'Malley not going to slow down? He literally threw the most amount of strikes in any bantamweight 3-round fight ever. He was, let's be honest, this was Sugar Sean O'Malley's target practice. He had a 72% accuracy. He landed 230 significant strikes. And I was shocked that Chris Moutinho wouldn't go down because he's actually been finished 4 times in his career. So I was thinking he's not the most durable of guys. Absolutely not. Moutinho showed he had all the heart in the world. And Herb Dean, once again, was showing that he's very inconsistent. And after letting the kid take over 200 significant strikes, he decides 30 seconds left into the third round. He decides I don't want this blood on my hands. Yeah, I'll just stop it now. And that was unfortunate. Matinho earned the right to go out on the shield after taking so much punishment. And honestly, I thought they were going to stop it heading to the second. And when they didn't, I was thinking this probably goes the distance. So props to Chris Matinho. He gained 120,000 Instagram followers from that. So yeah, he's definitely on the ups, and I would like to see him go down to flyweight after this.
Yeah, we had some fantastic prelims. Carlos Condit versus Max Griffin. Max Griffin looked phenomenal in that fight. And then Nico Price versus Michel Pereira. Oh, my God, they put on an absolute show. And then Ryan Hall versus Ilia Tutupia. It was wild. And then Trevor Giles versus DDP. DDP, he's got some hands, man. He can finish. What are your thoughts on the prelims, roughly?
Yeah, I'll just run it down. Carlos Condit showed that he very much can still compete against good welterweights, and he showed that he was there for the right reasons, and he's not near retirement. And Max Griffin, as I said, he's in his prime. Looked really good. Good decision win there. And then Price and Pereira was really what we expected. Pereira gassed once again. That's what he gets for doing those silly things. Clear win for him. And Ryan Hall and Topuria went how I thought it would. Ryan Hall had no plan B whatsoever. He only thought he was going to get an easy leg lock, and when he couldn't get it, he was toast. And Topuria is an undefeated killer who was able to knock him out easily. And then Dricus du Plessis showed that he was an absolute murderer, and he out-grappled Giles in the first and then got a crazy knockout in the second. Good on him. Very impressive. And right after that, on the early prelims, MMAUnhinged was probably going to be the least entertaining fight on the card. They really don't fight to finish. And in this fight, they got a legitimate fight. These two were fighting their hearts out there. And Maya had a crazy gash on her forehead, and she fought through it. Props to these two. Very exciting fight.
Yeah, it pretty much looked like a third eye, and it was disgusting. But, we move on. And then we had Brad Tavares versus Omari Akhmedov. And the recent news came out. Omari Akhmedov has now been released from the UFC, or his contract might have ended.
He liked to explore free agency.
Well, there you go. Oscar Silva clearing up the situation there. Maybe Bellator, Bellator, maybe one championship would make sense for him next. But, he had some great fights inside the UFC. What was his record? 9-5 and 1. He took...
one draw against Vettori. Yep.
Yeah. He took Marvin Vettori, who is top 3 middleweight right now, and so he's a good fighter. Maybe he needs to switch up a camp or get some things sorted, and he could definitely come back. And Zumagulov versus Jerome Rivera, and pretty much that ended very quickly. Impressive. A guillotine choke, very impressive. It was a weird angle as well. I thought Jerome Rivera was looking great on the feet. He was looking really good. That long, wide stance. He was pumping out his punches. He was looking phenomenal. And then Zumagulov snapped up that neck in such a weird angle. The way he had it, but he was tight. Got the tap.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant to get his first win inside the UFC too. I do believe. I think that was him. He was 0-2 heading into that fight, if I'm correct, and now he's 1-2.
Yeah, against the elite competition.
Yeah, So, well, we got a fantastic fight card this weekend. We got Thiago Moisés, Islam Makhachev versus Thiago Moisés. So this is a fight card that we're all looking forward to. I'm looking forward to. As you see, Mario Moreau versus Misha Tate. Matthias Gamrot versus Jeremy Stevens. Oh my word, that's an incredible fight. I'm definitely tuning for that one. And Radolfo Vieira versus Dustin. Oh, these some of these names, man. Some of these names. Dustin Joseph. Yeah, and then Billy Cortino versus Gabriel Benitez. Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod versus Preston Pearson's stepping in at short notice. And Amanda Lemos versus the Mexican. She's so entertaining, by the way. Is the Mexican bunny? She's the girl that came out with the bunny ears, wasn't it? If I'm correct.
Yep, Conejo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a mad name to pronounce, but Montserrat Ruiz.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, something like that. And then we got Khalid Taha versus Sergey Morozov. Anderson de Silva versus Miles Johns. a Figueiredo, Francisco Figueiredo versus Malcolm Gordon, Rodrigo Nascimento versus Alan Bardut. But we're going to start at the top. Main event is the Makhachev, Thiago Moisés. Oscar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Islam Makhachev has all the expectations in the world from the MMA community. We all know what he's capable of. His first several fights in the UFC have been looking similar to what Habib does, but he looks a lot more comfortable on the feet and a little more polished. So that'll take him a long way. If he sticks to father's plan, as Javier Mendez likes to call it, I believe he'll have a lot of success and he'll become champion. I really believe if I'm going to invest in any UFC fighter's stock, I'm investing in Islam Makhachev. I believe he can beat Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. I really believe he can beat just about anybody. I think he's already ready for a title shot. But of course, he hasn't beaten the guys to deserve it quite yet. And Thiago Moisés is just going to be another one of those guys. Thiago Moisés has been looking better than ever. In his last fight against Alexander Hernandez, his striking looked amazing. In the third round, he was just styling on him. He was taunting him. And it shows that he's made the proper improvements over at ATT. And of course, his bread and butter is his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And could he catch Islam in a submission? I don't think so. Davi Ramos couldn't catch him in a submission. A bunch of guys could not catch Islam in a submission. He's fought really good grapplers, and Thiago Moisés. I don't think he's the cream of the crop in grappling, but he's certainly right there when it comes to it. But Islam is just the real deal, and he's gonna smash Thiago Moisés. I know he wants to finish, but it's going to be very difficult to submit Thiago Moisés. And Thiago Moisés has never been finished, and he doesn't have a suspect chin either. So it's going to be hard for Islam to do it, but I think he's going to be very dominant on his way to unanimous decision.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a very one-sided as a fight that we can get inside the UFC. But Islam Makhachev, he's incredible. You literally put it out on the table there. This guy is the second coming of Habib Nurmagomedov. He's basically the second Habib, and he's going to show why he's top 5, top 2 lightweights in the world. As you mentioned, he could probably beat Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush. That would be a great fight, by the way. Beneil Dariush versus Islam Makhachev. That'd be an incredible fight. But I do believe Islam Makhachev is going to win this fight this weekend, and it's going to be very one-sided. But I'd like to see him get a step up in competition. I think it's definitely a time that he deserves it. But no one wants to fight him because he's that good. So he's in a weird situation where he has to go backwards to kind of go forwards because the people in front of him don't want to fight him because he's too much of a risk. Let's be honest. Who's going to fight him next? Probably RDA. RDA might fight him. Hooker. Dan Hooker, I mean. Dan Hooker said he would fight him.
Down Dan Hooker. He turned him down.
Yeah, so there we go. No one wants to fight this guy. He's an animal, and I don't blame him. He's too much of a risk. If you're fighting someone like Islam Makhachev, it's a risky fight, and I'd just like to see him get a step up in competition next. Maybe a top 5 would that would very much please me. Maybe a Tony Ferguson, but if you put him in there against Tony Ferguson, we know what's going to happen. Then everyone, the MMA is going to cry again because Tony Ferguson is taking another beating, unfortunately. But someone like RDA, maybe Beneil Dariush, that would entice me. I think that would be a good matchup for Islam Makhachev. But that's if he gets past Thiago Moisés. As you mentioned, been looking great lately against Alexander Hernandez. He's striking never looked better. He against Johnson when he got that submission win. Then he beat Bobby Green, which was a close fight. But it was he's looking good at the moment. Now he's at the best stage in his career. He's got a big main event in front of him. If he goes in there and upsets the odds, he's announced himself as a real legit 155er. If he goes in there and wins this fight against Islam Makhachev, that's an incredible statement win for Thiago Moisés. But he needs to get it done. The only way I see him getting it done is on the feet, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, I think on the feet, this is a very competitive fight. But I believe in every single round, Islam will go for a takedown and get it in a secure top position. And one of the major differences between Islam and Habib is Islam is a little more he likes to pursue those submissions more. And I believe he would love to get a submission over Thiago, but Thiago's just too good on the ground, man. But Neil Dariush couldn't submit him, so uh, Islam, of course, must wrestle in this fight if he wants to look as good as he should. So Islam is just a real deal, man. I really believe in his abilities. But I do believe one man that can catch him is Michael Chandler. He guy's a legitimately high level wrestler, and with one punch knockout power. Islam has already been knocked out in the UFC by the Martins, so who knows what can happen. This is a crazy sport, but Islam Makhachev is never a bad bet.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. A bet that I would look for on the weekend against Marilyn Monroe versus Miesha Tate. If I'm looking at this, Marilyn Monroe, I presume she's the favorite. Would she be the favorite?
She's an underdog.
She is the underdog. Well, that would be a good bet. How would you like that as a bet? A Marilyn Monroe underdog.
Yeah, the only way I see Marilyn Monroe getting this done is if she attacks Miesha Tate's nose early. Miesha Tate got her nose fixed. Yeah, she got her nose fixed before the Amanda Nunes fight. Dana White says, "Hey, you're fighting Amanda Nunes. How about you don't touch the nose surgically?" And the first fight, the first punch thrown breaks her nose again, man. It was just it was a very bad move on Miesha's part, and she gets completely demolished and her nose is broken again. And yeah, that can mess with you, especially the longer the fight goes. But besides that, I just think if Miesha Tate is very motivated and if she's as good as people are saying she looks in the gym, I think she has her way with Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe has gotten taken down and held down over and over again, and that's how Miesha Tate wins fights. She takes you down and gets the control of you, and that's how she wins decisions. So I'm gonna go with Miesha Tate here. But of course, somebody coming off a 5-year layoff, kind of hard to bet on. So yeah, but my lean is Miesha Tate just because her wrestling is very good and she's at Extreme Couture, and that camp is no joke. She's been training with Casey O'Neill. She was helping out Casey O'Neill when she was training for Lara Procopio. And yeah, Miesha Tate, her wrestling background should be enough to win this. But if she's not on her A game, don't get me wrong. Marilyn Monroe has a 97 record. She's never been finished, and yeah, she's beaten some good girls like Sarah McMahon and Jessica Andrade by triangle choke. So if Miesha Tate gets lazy or if she's not as good as we think she is, I do think she could get submitted. But I'll go with Miesha Tate by split decision. I think this is going to be somewhat of a close fight.
Yeah, there's 10 years. Marilyn Monroe is 10 years older than Miesha Tate, which is incredible because Miesha Tate has had 4 years and 7 months away from the octagon, and now she's returning, former champion, won against Holly Holm, and then obviously Amanda Nunes got that belt at UFC 200 in Brazil. So
yeah,
wow, that was an incredible moment for me, Amanda Nunes, but. I agree with you. I think Miesha Tate is going to get this one. Marilyn Monroe is on a 4-fight losing streak. Not looking good for her right now. She is 44 years of age. This is probably her last fight. This is her last fight.
This is
her last fight in her career. So she's probably going to go out there and give it everything she's got, but I don't think she's going to have enough.
Yeah, she's got her son in her corner this time. She just wants her son to see her last fight in the octagon, win, lose, draw. It's her last fight, and I don't know, man. If you already know it's your last fight coming into it, maybe you're not gonna fight as hard as you need to, because there's nothing to look forward to in terms of the fight game after. I think Miesha Tate's probably the hungrier one in this. She's talking about a rematch with Amanda Nunes one day, which is pretty crazy to think about, but she does have the style to beat a lot of women, in the women's division, if you have a really good wrestling base, it'll take you a long way. And I believe her. I would be curious as to how her striking looks because I believe Mary Renault is probably the better striker right now. She was actually able to hurt Macy Chiasson when they fought. So even at 44, Mary Renault is still dangerous.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on to the next fight on the main card, we've got an absolute banger, an absolute showtime fight that is definitely going to produce Gamrot versus Jeremy Stephens. This is an absolute firefight. Gamrot in his last fight returned back to the win column after losing his first fight inside the UFC against Gurum Kutsaladze, who's amazing, a phenomenal fighter. But in his last fight, got the knockout win against Scott Holtzman. Jeremy Stephens hasn't been in the win column for a long while, and he's moved up from 145 pounds after weighing at 150 in his last fight. So it's probably a smart move up to 155. But he's got a tough test in front of him. Gamrot is an absolute killer. He's a beast. And that's the way I see it going. I don't think this is going to be a knockout in this fight, but I feel like we're going to see Jeremy Stephens hurt in this fight multiple times. And I think this one's going to go to the scorecards. I think Stephens is tough. I think I can't remember off the top of my head if we've ever seen him knocked out.
Calvin Kattar.
Oh, Calvin Kattar. Yeah,
Jose Aldo.
Literally in his last fight, yeah, Jose Aldo, yeah, but that was like more of a body shot, yeah. That's a good point. He has been finished in the past, yeah. So I totally forgot about that Calvin Kattar one. Yeah, I'm going to go with Gamrot in this one. I think Gamrot gets it, but I'm going to go decision.
Yeah, fun fact about Jeremy Stephens, he has the most decision losses in UFC history. He's very tough, and he often gets outclassed, and I believe Mateusz Gamrot can outclass him here. Mateusz has a really strong wrestling base. He showed that in his last fight, and he was able to get the knockout against Scott Holtzman. And I believe he's a very bright prospect. He's 17-1, and the one loss was a split decision in his debut to another high-level prospect. So that loss really doesn't hurt him in my eyes. And Jeremy Stephens, it's very clear that you just have to be the bully against this guy and not get bullied by him. Jeremy Stephens has one-punch knockout power, especially at 155. The guy was able to concuss Jakar Close with a push, for goodness sake. So he is dangerous. But Mateusz Gamrot, I believe he's not going to be the type of guy that just get his growth stunted by a veteran like this. I believe he's too good for that, and he'll dominate on a way to a unanimous decision.
100%. This is going to be a great fight. Make sure you tune in for this one. A young, hungry prospect in Gamrot taking on the veteran grizzly of Jeremy Stephens. It's going to be exciting. Jeremy Stephens only still 35 years old, which is crazy because he's been inside the UFC for so long. His fight against Din Thomas might have been 2008, I want to say.
That's crazy.
It's incredible. He's been inside the UFC for a very, very long time. But Rodolfo Vieira versus Dustin Stiofus is at middleweight. Rodolfo Vieira returning back to middleweight, and his first appearance after the submission loss against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, what shocked the world. But he's going to get a submission win in this fight.
Yeah, Anthony Hernandez shocked us on a couple of nights. That's an inside joke, fellas. But yeah, that's not a good loss. Not a good loss at all. We know Rodolfo Vieira might be the best BJJ guy in the UFC, and he got submitted by a purple belt. So that shows you that his grappling it's only effective for so long. The guy's cardio tank is not excellent. Stoltzfus, his cardio is significantly better, and he's never been submitted. So if Dustin Stoltzfus can stay out of those submissions for about a round, I believe in that second round, Rodolfo Vieira is going to be toast once again. It's not like he lost all that muscle since earlier in the year. So I believe he's going to gas out again, and Stoltzfus should just destroy him and eventually knock him out. To be honest, I don't think he's gonna go for the style points like Fluffy Hernandez did with that dart stroke. But yeah, Stolfus, I think his submission defense is probably good enough to keep him out of danger early, and he'll capitalize late in the round. Rodolfo Vieira, I thought he was going to take a longer layoff to just fix some things, but yeah, Stolfus, he's a tough guy, and he does have a clean knockout in his record. I think he can do it to Vieira.
Wow. Well, interesting that you went that way. I thought maybe you're going with Vieira, but you're going with Stolfus. Stolfus. That's the one. Yeah. Well, we got another great fight on the main card as well. Billy Quarantino has taken on Gabriel Bennett. Oh my God, we're having a nightmare today. Benitez. We're having a nightmare today. Billy Quarantino versus Gabriel Benitez on the first fight on the main card. It's going to be a good show, a good showcase for both fighters. But which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I'm on the Billy Quarantillo side. I believe his wrestling is enough to win this fight. A fun fact about Gabriel Benitez, every win in the octagon he's had is against a guy that's now been released. So when he fights a guy that's, somewhat good, tends to lose, man. Even though he's one of the hardest kickers in the UFC, the game plan is out there to beat him. You can either out wrestle him, you can even knock him out like Yusuf and Philly did. So I don't think he's the cream of the crop anywhere. And Billy Quarantillo, it's kind of the same deal with him, but he's a very good fighter in terms of he'll fight through the early adversity and punish you later. His fight against Kyle Nelson and Spike Carlisle, those were classic examples of that, where he was clearly losing early, and then he's able to make things ugly and capitalize later. So against Gabriel Benitez, I believe Quarantillo is going to have a higher output, and I also think he can get a couple of takedowns that'll get him the win by split decision. This is my pick for Friday the night. It's going to be a fun one, and if you see Billy Quarantillo on the card, definitely watch that card. Quarantillo always comes to entertain, and he's a real bonus chase as well. So, yeah, this should be a tough fight for Billy, but I think he has enough tools to get it done.
Yeah, this is a fantastic fight, and there's a lot of fights on this card that have tremendous shout and being fight tonight, and we're in for a treat this weekend. But yeah, I'm on the same track with you. I think Billy Q is enough to get this done. His wrestling, a huge advantage. Gabriel Benitez, we talked about them kicks with Javier Mendez and what he said about them. We don't really need to repeat that. Everyone knows how good his kicks are, but will he be able to utilize them? I think Billy Q, I think he catches one of the kicks, takes him down, and we see a wrestling display for 15 minutes. But I wouldn't write out Gabriel Benitez. He's upset the odds a few times, but he's lost against Yusuf Salau and Andre Fili, as you mentioned. He's been knocked out, but I don't see him getting knocked out in this fight. Maybe submitted, but who knows? I'm going to go with Billy Quarantino in this fight. I'm going to submission, but a fight that's probably not going to end by submission. Daniel Rodriguez versus Preston Pearsons. This is going to be a really good fight. Preston Pearson's stepping in short notice. He's only 9-2 in his MMA career. This fight is at 170 pounds, and he's only 26 years old. He's been thrown into the deep end against D-Rod. D-Rod is a phenomenal fight, and he showed it in his last fight against Mike Perry, which was only 2 months ago and 3 weeks. That he's returning, not too far. What word am I looking for? He returning quickly. That's it. Returning quickly, and he has a lot of power in them hands. He can knock anybody out on any given day. Is this how it happens?
Yeah, talking about knockouts, Preston has already been knocked out by Mike Perry. That's who Daniel Rodriguez just dominated. So I'm thinking Daniel Rodriguez probably does it to him as well. We know he carries great power in his hands. He loves a good brawl. And the thing with Preston, he's only won by submission. 9 wins, 9 submissions. So if this goes to the ground, maybe he can do something to D-Rod there. But D-Rod is no slouch on the ground either. He trained with Cowboy, and Cowboy is a very talented grappler. And he was able to submit Tim Means in his debut. So I don't think he has like a major hole on the ground there. So Parsons probably is gonna fail there, and then D-Rod in the second round probably should wail on him and get a knockout. Yeah, if Dana Rodriguez is unable to get the knockout, he'll win unanimous decision. But yeah, Preston's already been knocked out, and D-Rod loves to finish fights, and that's what he's
Yeah,
going to do there. I'm very confident about that pick too.
100%. I agree with you on that one. That left hand, it may come from the hip, it may come from an awkward position, it may not be the most technical, but if you let it hit you, yeesh, you're going out. It's lights out.
Yep.
So yeah, he's got. If Pearson wants to say Parsons, I mean, if Parsons wants to win this fight, he's got to stay perfect on the feet, not get clipped. Probably get the fight to the floor, as you mentioned. 9 wins, 9 submissions. So that's his only way to victory. Get the fight to the floor. Maybe watch it, looking for Daniel Rodriguez to overextend, slip under the punch, clinch, and look for a trip. Maybe that's a good way to get the fight to the floor. But someone else who likes to keep the fight standing, Amanda Lemos, in her last fight put an absolute beating in a fight against Sousa. Yeah, we were watching this fight, and then she put on an absolute clinic with her hands, and she has heavy hands for a woman at 115 pounds. Her hands are powerful. So, what are we going with this fight? What are we leaning towards?
Yeah, Montserrat Conejo has a very clear game plan. She loves those judo throws, and she loves to keep you inside saddle and just pound on you and just hope to get a unanimous decision. She was a 7-time national champion in Mexico. Very, very talented wrestler. And even though she's very short, I believe she's only 5 feet tall or 5'4", something like that. Very, very short. She's very thick. She's got a lot of weight on her. When it comes to fight night, she's got a lot of size in her, and I believe that against a lot of girls, I believe the weight will be too much, and it's hard to get her off of them. But Lemos, on the other hand, is a very talented grappler. She's a black belt. But the thing with Montserrat is, with her game plan, she has to get close to you, and you do not want to get too close to Amanda Lemos because she will land a bomb and she'll have you doing the chicken dance. So I believe that Conejo is going to just hope to just go forward and eat whatever shots she can on her way to getting the takedown, but it's not going to be good enough. I believe she's going to get clipped on the way there, and in the second round she'll probably get put away. She's very tough, never been knocked out, but Lemos just has that very special power at 115 pounds. That should be enough to get the finish here.
Yeah, we saw that against Sousa. Ridiculous power, and it was hard to watch that fight. And I feel like this could be another showcase where we look at next week. We talk about Lemos and talk about how good she looked, and maybe getting her a top 15, top 10 ranked opponent next. I think that's definitely on the horizon if she wins this one. Her only loss does come to Leslie Smith by KO, TKO, and
Leslie Smith is a featherweight.
Yeah, exactly. Leslie Smith is a big girl, so not too much to really look into that one. But Lemos is at 115. Looks good. Looks really good. She has a submission win against Miranda Granger. So her defense. Will her defense be able to hold up against Ruiz? And if we're sitting inside, will Ruiz go for these submissions? I can't remember off the top of my head what her submission offense was like against Buys.
Yeah, she really didn't pursue any submissions. She was looking to get ground and pound above all. She ate a lot of good shots from Shine Bays, but you can't eat those same shots from Lemos.
Well, yeah, 100% agree with you. You can't eat them shots with Lemos. She's going to put you out. And that I don't, maybe not seeing a KO finish, maybe a TKO finish. Ruiz taking a lot of punishment. Maybe in the third round it gets stopped. Sort of like Sean O'Malley versus Chris Moutinho, but just not as much punishment as that fight. But moving on to the next fight, out of bantamweight, Khalid Taha versus Sergey Morozov at 135 pounds. This is a great fight, and this is one we should be looking forward to on the prelims. I know Oscar's got a lot of words to say about this one. So what are we going with?
Yeah, this is a very hard fight to pick for me. Khalid Taha, he was on the sauce in his debut. He got caught by USADA, and since then, he's had mixed results. In the Ronnie Barcelos fight, that was a very fun fight to watch. He got tagged badly, and he was nearly finished in that fight. Morozov, his recent losses are nothing to be ashamed about. He got choked out by Umar Nurmagomedov, and before that, he got choked out by Movsar Evloev. Two absolute killers on the ground, some of the best wrestlers in the UFC. And before that, he got knocked out by tough 29 competitor Josh Reddinghouse. And he has a rematch against Josh Reddinghouse, and he wins a unanimous decision. That shows you he's had clear improvement since his early days in MMA, and now he's ready for the UFC. He had a tough fight against Umar, but Umar's going to give just about anybody a tough fight. And against a guy in Khalid Taha, who has been hurt in the past. I don't know, man. This is a very tough fight to pick, but I think Morozov can probably outpoint him on the feet. Very hard to pick, but I'll go with Morozov. He's a very talented striker, and I believe he probably has the better chin as well.
Yeah, that's the exact same way I'm going with you. In M1, I believe he might have been a former M1 champion. As you mentioned there, his only two losses came against Movsar and Umar Nurmagomedov, and that's, there's no shame in there. But he lost against Josh Rittenhouse, got that win back. That was the fight literally before the UFC. He got the call up. But yeah, he lost in his debut against Umar Nurmagomedov. The UFC did him no favors with that matchup in his debut. Now he's got, a fight that I feel like it can definitely go his way. This is a winnable fight for him, and I'm going to see him. I think he's going to get the knockout in round one. I think he's going to put himself on the map very early and show the world what he's made of. And I feel like this is another guy that we're going to be talking about next week, and we'll be like, wow, how great did he look? And I feel like Sergey Morozov is going to put bantamweights on notice that he is a real contender. But when it comes to elite people like Umar Magomedov and Movsar, he's probably going to end up losing. But it was a long time ago since he last fought Movsar, so there might be he might put up a different challenge now. But is he still better than Movsar? Probably not. Movsar is an incredible fighter. He's an animal. But I think Sergey gets the win done. I think we're going to see him get a knockout in this one. Round 1 or 2 is what I'm predicting in this fight. Moving on to the next one, we got Anderson dos Santos versus Miles Johns. Miles Johns returning after losing his undefeated. He lost his undefeated streak against Mario Batista, but then he got in the win column against Kevin Natividad, and now he's fighting Anderson dos Silva, who also got in the win column in his last fight against Martin Day, who's now not inside the UFC. But he was on a 2-fight losing streak against Nad Nomani and Andre Ewell. He's had a lot of fights in his MMA career, a lot of losses. Almost 36 years old. The reach and the height advantage. The reach actually goes to Anderson dos Silva according to Tapology, but the height advantage is Miles Johns. What's your thoughts on this fight, and who takes home the win?
I'm very confident that Miles Johns win this. I believe he's the better striker and the better wrestler, and he probably has better cardio too. So if you have those 3 advantages, that'll take you very far. And besides a guillotine threat from Anderson dos Santos, I really think this is Miles Johns' fight to win. I think he's really gonna outclass Anderson dos Santos. Dos Santos was fighting a guy that was on the skid as well in Martin Day when he got that win by guillotine. And I actually thought Martin Day was going to win that fight. I thought Martin Day could probably knock him out, but he proved me wrong there. And I don't know if he's UFC caliber, but I sure do know that Miles Johns is UFC caliber. And I think he's going to look great in this fight and win a unanimous decision.
I agree with you. Unless he does get caught by that guillotine choke, On the feet, I feel like he's the better striker, and he's not too much to really worry about. And that's where I feel like he has the biggest strength is on the feet, and he's got some power as well inside them hands. But his wrestling is good as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But Francisco Figueiredo takes on Malcolm Gordon in this fight. 125 pounds. Francisco Figueiredo, the brother of former champion Davison Figueiredo, and he makes his second appearance as a UFC fighter. In his debut, he got the win, if I'm correct, against Jerome Rivera, who fought this weekend. That was 5 months ago. And now Malcolm Gordon, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, also made his debut 2 fights ago, but he's been 0-2 since signing with the UFC. Submission loss versus Amir Albazi, and a KO loss versus Sue Maderashi is an absolute animal. But in this fight, what are you predicting? What are you going with?
Yeah, Francisco Figueiredo is a 3-1 favorite in this fight. And I really don't think he's a skilled enough fighter to be a 3-1 favorite. He's nowhere near as good as his brother. In his last fight, he had a very disciplined approach against Jerome Rivera. He just took him down and held him down. Looked good doing it, but I don't think he has an outstanding ability anywhere. I don't think he's a very powerful striker. And on the ground, he's really not the most dangerous when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And his opponent, Malcolm Gordon, he loves those arm bars, and he has some decent power in his hands. But the problem is, whenever it's not going his way, he 100% will quit. That fighting against Sue Maderashi, you just saw the guy fold in front of your eyes. As soon as he got hit with a really good punch, he was like, "I'm out, man. It's not for me." So I'll definitely pick Francisco in this fight simply because I think Malcolm Gordon is one of the worst nails in the UFC. The guy cannot take a punch, and on the ground, he can get bullied. So I'll go with Francisco Figueiredo to win this fight by unanimous decision. Because Malcolm Gordon, when it's not going his way, it's going to be over quite soon.
A very, very good pick, which I also agree with you. Francisco Figueiredo, he's got, one of the greatest 125 pounders working with him at the moment, which is his brother, who's the former champion, gone 1-1 with Brandon Moreno. I don't know whether that's the correct term to use, but yeah, Malcolm Gordon fighting out of London, Ontario, Canada. And obviously Francis Figueiredo fighting out Brazil at Team Figueiredo. He's 31 years. Both men are 31 years old. The height advantage and the reach advantage, according to Tapology, goes to Gordon. And as you mentioned, he's not a very good nail. And as soon as he starts to get hit, he sort of gives up on himself. And it'll be interesting to see what way this goes in this fight. But I am going to go with Francisco Figueiredo in this fight. And as you mentioned, he's not as good as his brother, but there's some improvement to be made, and I believe he takes the win on the weekend against Malcolm Gordon. But a heavyweight fight on the first fight of the evening against two fighters that have both lost their last fight. Alan Badut against Tobin Aspinall in his last fight, and then Rodrigo Nascimento against Chris Dorcas in his last fight, which is, both men should, not hold that loss up, too much, because they're both fantastic prospects. Chris Dorcas now fighting Shamil, his last name.
Abdurrahimov.
There we go. Abdurrahimov, and now Tom Aspinall hasn't got a fight yet, but I'm sure he will have someone interesting to fight, maybe in the top 15 or just outside top 15. But yeah, both fighters who they've lost to are now fighting, at the top of the division. According to Tapology, he's training at ATT, which is a fantastic camp, and then Badut at MMA Factory. So they've both got some fantastic camps. But who gets the win in this one for you, Oscar?
Yeah, this is a tough one because, Badou has that one punch knockout power. But in his last fight, he was fighting Tom Aspinall. We know Tom Aspinall prefers to box, prefers to strike, and he got taken down and ground and pounded in about a minute. And that's what Nascimento is very good at doing. He can take you down in an instant and submit you or finish you with ground pound. So, assuming Badeau doesn't catch him early, we're going to see Nascimento get that takedown and finish him very early by first round submission.
Wow. Yeah, that's you brought up there. I remembered the fight now. Tom Aspinall just taking him down and just the ground and pound was vicious in that fight. His only other loss as well, he's been KO'd against Dausha. How do you pronounce that one then, Oscar? Dausha Lugo Libula, the one he's also inside the UFC. He's fighting against
Lungchibaldula. My goodness, I've got that one wrong too, but that's actually a middleweight.
Yeah, he's lost against him as well in the past. But he hasn't been fighting too regularly. If you look at his his career, we've got 4 years, 3 years, 3 years, 2 years. Before he came to the UFC, it was 2 years and 2 months, and then 8 months ago he lost against Tom Aspinall. He is 34, almost 34 years of age. He's maybe got to get on a little bit if he wants to get to the top of the division. But heavyweights are notoriously known to be really old. So he's probably not out of his place. Rodrigo Nascimento is 28 years old, 6'2", 265 pounds, and you mentioned Badut getting taken down really easy by a striker in Tom Aspinall, and Rodrigo Nascimento, bread and butter is taking people down and getting that getting the finish. And he's a minus 333 favorite according to Tapology, and they're probably correct with that. And I think Rodrigo Nascimento gets this one done unless he doesn't get catched early, as you mentioned. But yeah, what a fantastic fight weekend that we have this weekend. Miesha Tate returns. Isla Makhachev is headlining. It's going to be a fantastic showcase for fighters top to bottom. Is there anything else that we have this weekend that we could talk about? TAF 29 quickly for 3 minutes.
Sure. Josh Rettinghouse, we just mentioned him. He has a knockout win over Sergey Morozov, and he had a tough fight against I don't know his Brady Heastand, I believe.
Yeah,
Brady Heastand. So that fight was a split decision. I thought I wasn't sure who had won that second round, but Josh Rettinghouse, when it was on the feet, he was able to do a lot of damage. And unfortunately, even though he's the veteran, he actually got outclassed on the ground by Brady. Brady's he trains with Michael Chiesa, so you best bet his ground game is pretty high level. So Brady is only 24, 23, I believe, and I believe in a couple of years, I believe he might even get ranked. So very, very good showing by both men. I believe Josh Rettinghouse probably still gets signed by the UFC, even though he lost. That's how competitive this fight was.
Yeah, 100%. Here he is, Brady Heidstand. Yes. He's only 22 years of age. Trains with Michael Chiesa. He has Michael Chiesa in the same gym, which is a phenomenal person to have around you in camp and in your corner. But yeah, if you look at his wins heading, not against the greatest of competition. But he got the job done. He looked great on Tough. I'm excited to see where he goes. This is a great learning experience. Josh Rettinghouse was probably the best opponent of his career, and he got the job done. Yes, there was complications in that third round. He looked very tired. If Josh Rettinghouse had enough in the tank and got his striking going a little bit more, we could be talking about Josh Rettinghouse and talking about a KO win. But we're not. We're talking about how good Brady Heistan looked. His wrestling is phenomenal. Which is funny is these two are really good teammates. They used to train together, then they're roommates. So they were in an interesting position, and it was unfortunately they had to fight. But Brady looked great. He moves on to the semi-finals of the bantamweight Tough, and it's exciting to see where he goes from here. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the episode. We're pretty much going on for a little bit longer now. 1 hour of talking time that me and Oscar have had today. We've talked about UFC 264. We talked about Isla Makhachev versus Thiago Moisés. We hope you enjoyed the show this weekend. We will be back Thursday, roughly the same time. We say 7 p.m. UK time. I'm not too sure what that is in American time. But yeah, we'll be back next week. I hope you enjoy the fights this weekend. Oscar, any last words?
Yeah, just make sure to enjoy the fights and bet on Islam. You're probably not going to lose your money, man.
Yeah, enjoy your nights this weekend. I hope you have a good one as well, Oscar.
All right, that is